All right, guys, welcome to this live stream. I see some of you are already there. Sen, yeah, hey Sen, hi Vicky. And as I wrote in the chat, basically I will take up questions afterwards. Right, so if you do have questions about the presentation itself or general questions about hair loss, just let them basically into the chat and I will answer them afterwards. All right. Yes, so today's live stream is about sustaining results with Finasteride long term. Right, and basically what I want to show is my timeline of hair regrowth and what happened over the last 14 years since basically I've been taking Finasteride on a daily basis by microdosing. And if you wonder how much I take 0.5 of Finasteride. So, and I take Propecia. So, all right, so we can start with kind of my introduction, my story. So this is basically my hair situation when I was around 16 years old. So this is how my hair was looking like. As you can see, it was a lot of hair and it was dense, it was very thick, and I could basically style my hair any style way I wanted because it was a lot of them. But what happened next is that my hair started thinning out. So this is when I was 16, and this is also when I was 16. And basically what happened when I became 17, I started to thin out on my hairline temples. You can basically see that things started to go downhill from here on, compared to this picture here, for example. So basically what happened next is that my hair loss started to increase. And basically when I was 16, my hair was like this. And basically this is when I was 17, end of 17, 18. And it just continued to progress to this stage here, where I had a dop on my sides because of nutrition deficiencies. Basically what happened during that time is that I was living for myself. My diet was not good because I was not eating enough, and I also was eating a lot of fast foods, and I also was having nutritional deficiencies. So basically from a guy in his 16 with full head of hair, basically I ended up to this situation here when I was around 18 and a half, 19 to this point here. And again, you can see basically if I had taken action earlier, a couple months before, I would most likely not end up in this situation here. But I didn't basically take it seriously, and it ended up like this. So, but when I solved my online problems, I was able to recover, right? And this is basically a picture of me around 7 months later from this picture here. And basically, as you can see, my sides had recovered, but I had damaged my temples and hairline because of all those problems, right? And basically what happened afterwards is that I didn't have any issues with my sides, but my temples hairline basically started thin out, right? So you can basically see that I was able to recover from this situation here, right, with a dopa problem. But what happened next is that because of it, I had also basically triggered metabolic baldness. And that was a problem. So basically this is my situation from 2003 to 2005. You can see basically that my hair loss kind of slowly started to progress, and it became much worse in 2008. Right? And basically what happened is that my hair loss basically got out of control, and I ended up to this situation here. And again, things that happened during that time basically was that I had a lot of stress. I was doing bachelor degree in university. I was also not sleeping enough. I was also basically was not kind of having right lifestyle because I was working basically two jobs at that time. So all those things kind of affected my hair situation, and because of basically the DHT issue, it just escalated and become even worse. So at this stage I was 24, by the way. So this is 2008. So basically what happened next is that I started with, after taking those pictures here, I went to the doctor, and 2 weeks later I started with Finasteride. And this is basically my results from Finasteride around 4.5 months later. So basically you can see that things start to improve. And again, Finasteride is not something that is necessarily a growth stimulant, but it do thicken up the hair. I think you can see basically still in early stages, but it was much better compared to this situation here. So Finasteride definitely had an amazing effect for me when I first started with it. And basically what happened next is that the hair just continuing ticking up. This is basically 2009, beginning of 2009. This is around April. This is around May 2009. And this is, I think, around end of 2009. And this is basically two pictures of me in 2010. So basically, in end of 2010, basically almost 2 years into Finasteride, I was able to thicken up my hair significantly. You can basically see how huge difference it was. So basically, Finasteride can have that thickening effect. Right? And again, like I spoke about in another live stream that I made a couple of months ago, is that you can see the difference with the hairline from Finasteride compared to results from minoxidil. Right? So basically, you can see that it did thicken up my hair, but it didn't make my hairline back to what it is now. Right? So that's kind of difference between them. All right. And basically what happened in end of 2010 is that I got scalp inflammation and I started to lose all my gains from Finasteride. Basically this is kind of timeline of my hair from 2011 to 2012, like end of 2012. And it was a lot of struggle because basically what happened is that first of all, I didn't know what was hairing. I suddenly was losing hairs, a lot of hairs. My scalp was always itchy. There was a lot of sebum, like a couple of hairs plugged together in the same hair follicle with a yellow bulb at the end of them. Like, so I basically had a fungal issues on my scalp. And basically what happened is that my hair situation got worse in a very short time. So basically this is my situation in end of 2010. And this is basically February 2011. You can see already how fast I was losing ground because of inflammatory problems and fungal issues. Basically, I decided to cut my hair short. I went to dermatologist, and basically I started with steroid creams, steroid shampoos to solve this problem. And this is also the stage when I switched to the Finasteride because I was assuming that my DHT was spiking. That was kind of the reason why I was thinking my hair was falling out, but of course that was not the case. So basically what happened next is that I was able to stabilize the hair situation and thicken up the hair, right? But the problem with steroids is that when one applies them on the scalp, one has to cycle them. And basically what happens is that each time I had to cycle them, my hair loss got worse again and my scalp inflammation spiked up again. Right? So I knew that I had to find a solution to it. And basically all 2011 was a huge struggle between having those ups and downs. Like I would basically gain here and then I will lose here a couple months later because I had to stop with steroids to my scalp. So basically it was a problem because my scalp all the time was almost itchy. And again, when one is having itchy scalp, it is very hard to basically have enjoyment and basically have a normal life. So basically what happened next is that at the end of 2011, I decided that I had to find a solution to my scalp inflammation and solve it once and for all, because I knew that this was not normal, or having that itch on the scalp all the time. And again, that itch kind of sometimes it, for example, could be at 10, and sometimes it could be at 5, right? So basically I started to connect the dots that there was something going on that was not quite right with my scalp, and I started to look into my diet. I started looking into my scalp environment. I started to check what topicals I was using, and basically all those things helping me to kind of start to see patterns, start to see what effect things had on my scalp, what could basically make so my inflammation, for example, decreased to the 5 or 4, so for a couple of days before it spiked up again, right? And basically as time went by, I was able to connect more and more dots and get more and more control over the situation. Right? For example, I did notice the stress, for example, could spike my inflammation on my scalp. If I didn't sleep enough, it could spike my inflammation. If I had sugary foods, for example, in my diet, or high carb foods in my diet, like fast foods, for example, those things would spike my inflammation. So basically, I started to clean up slowly my diet. I started to do lifestyle adjustments. And basically, what happened next is I was starting to get more control over the situation. So basically, in 2012, I was basically having a quite okay year. So basically, pictures in the beginning of year, middle of year, well, beginning of summer, end of summer. Basically what happened next, things went quite well, but then I was traveling in a tropical location and I got sunburn. And again, my inflammation flared up a lot and I started to lose gains again. Let's see. What happened next in the beginning of 2013 is that I basically, once again, was having problems with my hair. And this is basically again in 2013. Because of the sunburn, I lost a lot of ground. And I had to fix again scalp inflammation because it had fired up. So basically, first 4 months of 2013, I was dealing with this problem. But what happened next is that I was finally able to basically get my inflammation down to level around 1 to 2. Right? So it was not that intense anymore. And I was able to start with minoxidil and microneedling around this stage here. And this is basically, I think this was basically beginning of the summer, 2013, and this is middle of the summer, or was it opposite? So, but in any case, basically I was able to nicely improve my situation. And this is around my hair 7-8 months later from microneedling and finasteride and the minoxidil application. This is here situation 2014. As you can see, basically nice progress during the whole year. I had some ups and downs in the middle of the summer because again I was working and I was not sleeping enough because I was working a lot of overtime during that time, and it did affect my hair. So basically this is the beginning of 2014. This is around April 2014. This is summer and end of summer 2013. And this is basically, if I remember correctly, it was around October 2014 and end of 2014. And so basically, I had not very nice improvements at the beginning of the year, but because of work situation, because of lack of sleep, basically it did affect my hair. Even if when I was on finasteride, even when I was applying minoxidil in microneedling, still lifestyle did affect my hair. All right, and this is 2015. So this is again beginning of the year, couple of months into the 2015, summer 2015, and this was kind of quite chill year for me. So basically I was able to take care of my hair. I was not having that much stress in my life, and basically everything went quite well. And because of it, my hair situation also was very nice during whole year. I didn't like, I had a good control from my diet, on my lifestyle, and basically everything was kind of optimized. I knew how to take care of my scalp, of not getting that inflammation again, by basically having a healthy and well-balanced diet, right, without trigger foods, but healthy and well-balanced. And those things definitely did help to keep treatment effective, right? Because again, we don't want to just rely on finasteride and minoxidil and derma rolling, or keto shampoo, for example, but we have to address this problem from all angles. Right? And if you do that, basically, you can have a nice hair situation basically all the time. Right? It's only when the ups and downs of those other factors that basically the hair also gets worsened. So, all right, and this is me in 2016. It was okay year to begin with, but then I got some dermatitis in my scalp. Because of dermatitis, basically, I had to take a break from minoxidil application, and I also was, I had done like almost daily microneedling since 2014. From 2013 to 2016, I had done the microneedling almost daily without taking that much breaks, and that has all overstimulated my scalp. My scalp was very dry, and plus I also had dermatitis there, so I had to solve those problems and take a longer break from minoxidil. And basically, it also had effect on my hair situation. And you can see, basically, I started to thin out on my temples in the middle of 2016. That was a problem, right? But basically, what I did is that I was able to address the dryness. Basically, again, in my case, this dryness was mostly caused by overstimulation of overdoing of microneedling or derma rolling. So I had to take a longer break from it. I did apply oils that doesn't clog the pores, like for example, seclin oil on my scalp. It did help to heal it, and basically I was able to again recover and start with the treatment. This is basically me in October and December 2016. All right, and this is 2017. Again, it was beginning of the year, 2017. Then I got problems with dermatitis, and also I had a lot of stress during that time. Basically, all those things affected my hair again in 2017. And my diet also at that time was not that optimal. And basically, I started to lose ground again. So this is basically beginning of the summer 2017, end of summer 2017. And this is basically around October, if I remember correctly, and this is December. So basically in October, I was able to again recover from the situation and adjust my lifestyle to basically have better optimized, and I was able to gain back the hair. This is the situation in 2018. There was also some ups and downs, again, mostly because of work situation, because I was working too much and there was unnecessarily high amount of stress, and it did affect my hair during the year. Basically what happens usually when I have longer times and I have a lot of stress is it basically affects my hair color. My color of the hair becomes lighter, and hair itself doesn't feel that light again, like it basically can lose volume. And all those things happen even if I'm on treatment. Right? So basically, again, it shows importance of addressing those underlying problems. This is 2019. There was some ups and downs in the middle of the year. Beginning was awesome. 2019 was a great year for the hair in the beginning. Then basically what happened again, I was working way too much and it did affect my hair. And basically when I figured it out, I basically started to adjust my lifestyle again and get it better, and basically I was able to have a nice recovery, and this is end of 2019. So, and here is the situation in 2020 basically, and 2020 was okay year regarding lifestyle, all those things, but basically what happened is that I had a problem getting prescription for Propecia for various reasons. Because of the time period, there was basically not possible to get appointment with the doctor, and because of it, basically I was taking expired Finasteride pills. Like I had some old Proscar pills that had expired in the past, and basically what happened is that they most likely have lost effectiveness because this is basically beginning of the year 2020, and everything was kind of okay. Then I started with those pills that had expired, and basically my situation was here basically worsened quite rapidly because of it. Right? And again, it shows importance of addressing DHT if one is having DHT-related hair loss. Right? It's very important to address it. But basically, I was able to get prescription and I was able to recover my hair again. Right? So basically, I was able to get back to control of it. And again, guys, you can check my previous videos during 2020. And you can basically see in the videos as well that my hair kind of gets worse from around June up until end of August. And then basically I was able to get a new prescription of Propecia, and I was able to get back on it. And this is basically my hair in end of 2020. This is I think November, and this is around December. Right? And I was basically able to fully recover. But you can see that I had quite severe issues going on in those two pictures here, especially with my temples. All right, this is 2021. Right, and again, it was a good year for the hair mostly. So it was basically a year where I was able to kind of keep my hair in a very good state whole year without having that much problems. So this is basically something I want to share with you guys because it just shows importance of not just rely on medication, but also understanding that things like your scalp environment, your diet, nutrition, lifestyle, sleep, stress, all of those things will affect the hair. Right? And if you want to have awesome results, you have to work on those things. Right? You have to work on each one of them to basically not have those ups and downs like I experienced it during my basically my journey as a hair ago. So yes, this was basically about presentations that I want to take up on today's live stream. Let's see if you guys have any questions that you have added in the chat. I'll check it out now. All right. So basically, the first question is about from Vicky about minoxidil. The regain minoxidil is good or bad. Regain is basically standard formulation of kind of the same as Rogaine in a way. And again, it is okay if your scalp is not super sensitive. So that's my take on it. So next question from Sam about hair loss that is from sleep deficiency and seborrheic dermatitis, which is slow now. I'm using minoxidil. Now will be able to regrow back the hairs. I have no other underlying problems. Yes, like if you are able to basically address that sleep deficiency, and sleep deficiency is very important. Right? If you are not getting enough sleep, like you did see in my pictures, it definitely do affect the hair. Right? So you have to have enough sleep, but you also have to have a good quality sleep. Right? So basically make sure that you optimize basically all the possible angles regarding sleep quality, right? Like basically having rooms that is not having any light into it, or basically use eyes mask, for example, to address it, and also basically turn off any electronic devices like TV, mobile phone, an hour before, for example, before you go sleep, right? Because it will give you much better sleep quality. And when it comes to seborrheic dermatitis, again, like make sure that you don't get flare-ups of it, right? Make sure that you have a diet that is basically without trigger foods that could cause or affect dermatitis. And I've spoken before previously about it, which foods we need to be aware of. But basically, if you are able to sustain your underlying problems, then basically you will be able to get results with treatment with minoxidil. So that will work fine. So. All right. Question about is it receding hairline? One should do medication, or is medication enough, or one should do transplant for it? Again, it depends on the context, right? It depends on how long you actually have been losing hair, what has been cause of your hair loss, on how aggressive it has been, how much damage has been done, right? Like if you do watch the beginning of the presentation where I show basically my situation over the years, is that you can fully recover hairline temples as long as basically it's not too long time you have been having that those areas empty. So basically in my case, I started to lose my hair around when I was 17 and a half. So I was kind of able to gain back ground when I addressed those nutrition deficiencies before I was affected by DHT. But it was not until 2013 when I actually started with a real growth stimulation with minoxidil. But I was still able to recover those areas. So it is possible, but you have to be dedicated. You have to basically work hard for it. But if you do the necessary work, if you are clear about your visions that you want to actually fill in those temples, and the context is right regarding other underlying problems, then basically you can get this done without doing hair transplant, just by medication. But again, remember that everything is connected, so you have to be aware of it. So, question from Numo: is finasteride alone enough? Yes, it is. If, for example, you have early stages with hair loss, or if the hair loss itself is basically caused mainly by DHT, like in my case in 2008. I was able to get awesome results with finasteride because my hair loss was just caused by DHT. Right? And it did work awesome for 2 years up until the point where I actually got scalp inflammation. And I got scalp inflammation, finasteride was not working anymore. Right? And this was basically a huge issue. So, all right. Let's see, next one. Tips about how to get rid of seborrheic dermatitis. Like you need to basically do several things. You need to basically focus on detoxification. Right? This is important. Do a detox, and you also need to basically like detox would be like green juice, for example, that you drink, and also you need to clean up your diet. It's very important to clean up your diet and basically detect possible trigger foods and possible trigger foods for you. And then you also need to be aware of reducing stress, because again, stress it's something that will amplify and aggravate the problem. So if you have seborrheic dermatitis and having additionally a lot of stress in the lifestyle will basically make the things even worse. So make sure that you address the stress, and basically by having healthy diet, by doing detox, you will be able to get it under control, right? And again, in the future, it can always spike up again, but if you are having a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle, then those spikes will be manageable and they will slowly disappear. But it, of course, takes time. So, all right. Question from page 1, Alex: does minoxidil create new hair follicles, or it makes existing hair thick? Like what it happens is that it helps to regenerate the hair follicles that you already have there. Right? You won't be able to get new hair follicles in the extent if you didn't have them before. Right? Let's say, for example, if your hair loss has been going on for 3 years, right? Then the hair follicles are still there. They have gone into different phases, like Kejun phase, where they are kind of in standby modules. Right? And by applying minoxidil, you can start to regenerate them to actually start to grow out again. But if there hasn't been any hair follicles to begin with, right, if the area, for example, has always been empty in that area, then basically you will not be able to get new hair follicles in those areas, right? So it has to have had hair follicles in the past. Question about how can I address scalp tension also that's a big issue. Like again, if you are having scalp tension, then possibly scalp massage could be option, right? Definitely. Like I did make a video a couple of months ago where I showed how I do scalp massage. And again, scalp massage is not necessarily something that will grow here, but it will basically reduce tension on your scalp, assuming that it is, for example, because of internal toxins, internal buildups that is built up under the epidermis or the skin. So, but if there are scalp tension from, for example, because of scalp inflammation, then it's a different thing. Then basically scalp massage will have limited effect on it. So basically, if you feel that it's just tensed and tight, then scalp massage can help to address it. But if the scalp is also itchy, it has redness, for example, then it's more likely scalp inflammation that has affected it and caused tension on it as well. So you have to look at the context. All right. Question about I'm a finasteride, my sides and temples are thinning. What can cause it? Again, things that can cause thinning on sides and temples is basically like either online problems like nutrition deficiencies or diet or dermatitis or fungal issues or hair cycle itself. For example, if your hair cycle itself is not strong, then basically those things can affect the hair growth, and basically it will be very hard to get results from the treatment. Right? So basically, if your hair cycle is not strong, then you have to basically work on to improve your lifestyle. Improve your circulation, for example, to make it stronger. So, question about is it possible to regrow dead follicles? Yes, as long as the time hasn't been too long from you have lost and those areas have become bald until you are actually addressing it. Right? So if the timeline is still kind of favorable, if this hair follicles is not completely gone, then it is still possible to regenerate them. Right? But again, if you, for example, wait a decade to address it, then it becomes much less likely to be actually able to get them to grow here again. Right? But if it's a shorter time frame, for example, 3 years, 5 years, then the hair follicle still can be reactivated and still can produce hair soon. Question about does finasteride help for only DHT hair loss? Yes, it does. Like in some cases, for example, it can help with, for example, if there is some inflammation caused, for example, by as a kind of by-effect from DHT, for example, if there is a lot of oil production of the scalp, is there a lot of sebum, is there acne pimples, those things can also cause additional inflammation, right? And basically when one starts to block DHT by finasteride, then those things can be eased up, and in that case, inflammation will be less or decrease or disappear even. So basically, when I first remember when I first kind of started with finasteride, my acne cleared up because I had acne issues in my face, for example, and my shoulders, for example, I had acne problems. And other things that happen is that my oil production also decreased. So those basically are things that I noticed when I started with finasteride. And so if your inflammation basically is caused by oil production sebum or oily skin or acne, problem on your scalp, then finasteride can have a good effect for it. So. All right. Like Sen, you wrote here about that if the hair follicle has mineralized 30% of its original diameter, it cannot grow back. Like again, it really depends on timeline, right? It depends on how long ago it actually happened, right? So because again, for example, if there are inflammatory problems, if there is dermatitis or underlying problems, the mineralization process can happen much faster, right? So basically, it can happen in a very short time, and if it's short time that you have had this hair loss problem, then you can recover those hair, right? But again, if there is kind of gone a decade by and one hasn't done anything about it, then of course it will become much more challenging to actually reverse it. So that's why we have to take basically control and do something about the hair loss as fast as possible. So, a question about oily hair and that you wash them daily. But you cannot get control of it. Like again, you need to basically, like for example, if your scalp is oily all the time, so maybe you need also some kind of stronger shampoo, like some kind of antifungal shampoo, like Catronzole or Coltar or sulfur shampoo, for example, not just a mild everyday shampoo. Right? This is something I have kind of always stressed about, is that we have to have some kind of deep cleaning shampoo that we use either once a week or 2 to 3 times a month, and then we have a light everyday shampoo for everyday use, right? Because again, light everyday shampoo will just have a light cleaning effect, right? But we have to have something for deep cleaning as well. Possibly it also has to have some sulfates, because sulfates is okay as long as we don't use them too often, right? If you use too often sulfate shampoo and if there are scalp problems, then of course it will basically worsen conditions, right? But if the things are okay regarding scalp environment and we just need to have a deep cleaning, then sulfate shampoo can also be beneficial as long as we don't use too much of it. So all right, guys, I will end for today because yeah, we have been going on for more than 30 minutes today. For you guys who attended the live stream, awesome. It was nice to see you all on today's call. And for you guys who basically want to know more about my program and how I can help you with your hair situation, you can use link here to schedule a call. Let's say that is chat. Yeah. All right, guys. That was basically all for today. Thanks for attending.